It really does feel like it all happened overnight. One minute, artificial intelligence was this thing you'd see in science fiction movies. The next, it's everywhere. It's helping write our emails, it's creating incredible images, it's literally reshaping our world as we speak. And this isn't just some new app or a cool gadget. This is a really fundamental shift, and it feels like it arrived with just astonishing speed.
Yeah, that's the scale we're talking about here. This isn't just an upgrade, it's a total transformation, on the level of when we first figured out how to harness electricity. It's a technology that's so foundational, it's going to touch pretty much everything.
All right, so let's get into it, because the story of AI is not an overnight success story at all. It's this incredible journey of brilliant ideas and then crushing failures, followed by these quiet, almost invisible breakthroughs, and then, finally, this explosive arrival. This is the story of how we actually got here. So our story kicks off in the middle of the 20th century. It was this time of just wild technological optimism, right? The very first digital computers had just been invented, and this small group of brilliant thinkers started asking a question that it was so profound and honestly pretty unbelievable at the time. It all really started with that simple but huge question from Alan Turing: can machines think? And that one idea, it just sparked a revolution. By 1956, the whole field officially got its name: artificial intelligence. And the early progress was amazing. You had the perceptron, this early version of a neural network that kind of showed that, hey, maybe machines can learn from patterns. And then, get this, by 1966, a chatbot named Eliza could actually simulate a conversation with a therapist. For a little while there, it really felt like the dream of a thinking machine was right around the corner. So how did these early AIs think? Well, the truth is, they didn't. Not really. They were running on something we now call symbolic AI. What that means is programmers had to painstakingly write out every single rule by hand. Think of it like a giant, super complex flowchart of if this, then that. Now, it was transparent, you could follow the logic, but it was also incredibly brittle. It's like trying to write a rule for every single drop of rain in a storm. It's just impossible to scale. The second the AI saw something it didn't have a rule for, it would just break. Of course, that initial excitement couldn't last. The massive gap between the grand promises of human-level intelligence and the hard reality of what these brittle, rule-based systems could actually do, well, that gap was becoming a chasm. The dream was about to hit a wall of ice. So in the 1970s, all that progress that seemed so inevitable just ground to a halt. The funding, the excitement, the research, it all started to just vanish. The entire field entered what became known as the very first AI winter. And it was just a perfect storm of problems. The hardware just wasn't there yet. The computers didn't have the power for these huge ideas. The hype had gotten way, way ahead of the actual results, and that led to a lot of disillusionment. And crucially, even the most promising ideas, like those early neural networks, were found to have really severe limitations. So, as the results dried up, so did the money. But then in the 1980s, we saw a little bit of a thaw. Instead of trying to build this grand thinking machine, researchers focused on something way more practical: expert systems. These were AIs designed to do just one thing really well, like mimic the decision-making of a human expert in a super narrow field, like diagnosing a specific disease or configuring a computer system. And for the first time, AI actually started having some real commercial success. But here we go again. Even that success was short-lived. By the late 80s, the problems with that old rule-based approach became obvious all over again. The excitement around expert systems fizzled out, and the field plunged into a second, even longer AI winter. The big takeaway from this second winter was really important. It wasn't that we were out of ideas. It was that the old ideas just couldn't scale. These expert systems were incredibly expensive to build and even harder to maintain. Every time you wanted to add new information, an engineer had to manually write new rules. The lesson was crystal clear. You couldn't build intelligence one rule at a time. It had to learn. But while the surface looked totally frozen, something really profound was changing underneath. A whole new idea was taking hold, an idea that would finally lay the foundation for the AI we know today. This was a complete paradigm shift. The change was just fundamental. The old way, symbolic AI, was about giving the machine a fish. The new way, machine learning, was about teaching the machine how to fish. Instead of hand-coding rules,
Researchers started building systems that could find patterns all by themselves, just by looking at tons and tons of data. It was this huge shift from logic to statistics, from instruction to inference. Now, for this new approach to actually work, three critical ingredients had to come together all at the same time. First, you needed data. An unfathomable amount of it, which, hey, the internet was just starting to provide. Second, you needed raw power. And it turned out that GPUs, the chips made for video games, were perfectly suited for the kind of math needed for machine learning. And third, you just needed smarter algorithms to make the whole learning process work better. By the 2010s, all three pieces of the puzzle were finally in place. So, with that recipe complete, the 70-year-old dream didn't just wake up, it exploded. The slow, quiet progress we'd seen for decades suddenly gave way to this exponential, almost shocking acceleration. The AI winter was officially, definitively, over. And the buildup happened fast. In 2012, a deep learning model just shattered all the records in image recognition, which proved how powerful this new approach was. But the real linchpin, the moment that changed everything, came in 2017 with the invention of something called the transformer architecture. This was the technical key that unlocked everything that came next. Just 3 years later, you had GPT-3 showing this stunning ability with human language, and by 2022, ChatGPT put that power into the hands of hundreds of millions of people. So what was it about the transformer that was so revolutionary? Well, before it came along, AI models had to read language one word at a time in order. It was slow, and they really struggled to understand the context of a long sentence. But transformers, they can look at an entire sentence or even a whole document all at once. And that ability to see the whole picture is what lets them really get context, to know that the bank in Riverbank is completely different from the bank in Money in the Bank. This one breakthrough unlocked a scale that was just unimaginable before. And that scale is it's mind-boggling. Think of a parameter as like a single connection in a digital brain. It's a little pathway where a lesson can be stored. Early models had maybe thousands. GPT-3 was built with 175 billion of them. And that sheer size is what lets it capture the insane complexity of human language. The reaction from the public was just unprecedented. To put that in perspective, it took Netflix almost 10 years to get to 100 million users. ChatGPT did it in 2 months. This wasn't just a tool for researchers anymore. This was a global phenomenon. And this isn't just about consumer hype either. The number of AI projects that developers are actually building has absolutely exploded. AI has shifted from being an experiment to being a fundamental tool in how modern software gets built. It's being woven into everything. So, after a whole history of booms and busts, of AI winters and false dawns, it's totally fair to ask, is this just another hype cycle? But all the evidence suggests that no, this time it's fundamentally different. To really get why, we have to stop thinking of AI as just a product and start thinking of it as what economists call a general-purpose technology. Like the steam engine or electricity. It's not just one thing. It's a foundational layer that makes countless other innovations possible across every single industry. Just look at the difference. Past revolutions took decades to really unfold. This is happening in a matter of months. They were usually specific to certain industries. This is happening everywhere, all at once. And here's the most crucial part. While past technologies automated manual labor, muscle, AI is the first technology in history to automate cognitive labor at a massive scale. It's not just replacing muscle, it's augmenting the mind itself. It's the speed, it's the scale, and it's the scope. For the very first time, we have created a tool that can learn, that can create, that can reason. A technology that is no longer just following our rules, but is starting to discover its own. And that changes everything. The 70-year-old dream isn't a dream anymore. It's here. And the real question now is, what do we do with it?
Every technology that has truly changed the world followed the same arc: dismissed, then feared, then adopted, then taken completely for granted. AI is somewhere between feared and adopted right now. And if history is any guide, the taken for granted phase is closer than most people think. What strikes me most about AI's evolution is not the speed of the breakthroughs, it's the acceleration. From Turing's question in 1950 to the first chess victory in 1997 was nearly 50 years. From that chess victory to AlphaGo was 19 years. From AlphaGo to ChatGPT was 6 years. The gaps are compressing fast, which means the next leap, whatever it turns out to be, is probably coming sooner than any of us expect. Understanding this history doesn't just satisfy curiosity, it prepares you. People who understand why AI developed the way it did are better equipped to see where it is going and to make smarter decisions, whether you are building products, making career choices, or just trying to navigate the world. We are living through one of the most consequential moments in human history that's worth paying attention to. Thanks for watching. If you want to keep following this story, subscribe and hit the bell. And share this with someone who curious about where AI coming from and where it's going.